All right, welcome back to Shaving with Fuzzy. I'm Fuzzy. Hi, y'all, on a Sunday morning. There was a big time on the old town last night. LSU beat Alabama by 1 point, I understand. I didn't watch the game or anything, but I just deal with the traffic and all. But I was able to get home from work last night and get settled in and everything, get the dogs walked. I did a walk through the properties and everything like that, so wasn't a big deal. I slept while all the traffic left because I'm sure that took a couple hours. What they do here is they make every street that's leading away from the LSU as an outbound for a while up the road. You can't come in, everything going out. And I've had to sit and wait hours sometimes if I didn't make it home in time before all that started, depending on where I was working and where I was coming in from. I've had to sit and wait, so it's just the way it is. All right, so today's shave, we're going to use the A2 auto strop here. It's not a valet auto strop. This was before valet came along. If I shine this up, it is still silver plated and looks really good, and I've just been lazy and hadn't shined it. But I think they look pretty good with the patina on them too. So we have a feather blade for that. I'll show you how that goes in just a minute. So the other day, one of my shave buddies mentioned that this shave cream from Portugal is discontinued. Is this the same stuff you were talking about, my friend? So Valerio, Aeleiro. Valerio, got the sailing ship on it, so I'm thinking it's nautical stuff. It is made in Portugal. I did check to make sure I was looking at the right stuff. And this came along with some other Portugal creams that I got a while back from a shave buddy. And I love my Portugal creams. I really do. This one was starting to stiffen up. Now, I can remember ever since I've had this, each time I've used it, it's been pretty stiff in the tube. And it was really stiff in the tube again. So what I did was, I put it in the hot water soak with my brush to heat it up, and it loosens it up, and it'll be a little bit better. I've had to do that with other creams over the years and stuff like that. But anyway, so that's what we're going to use. We're going to use a Badger brush. It's my Ever-Ready 200 handle that I reknotted with a brush from the Golden Nib, a silver tip Badger. And to finish up with, I thought we'd just use some Boosters Oriental Spice. It's nice and light. The scent on the cream here is that nice light. I would say it's a nautical scent. I like it. It would go well with I don't know, Canoe or or Nautica. I've got some body spray that's Nautica. I used to have some after-shaving cologne, but anyway, I've used it all up over the years. But anyway, so there we go. So that's what we're doing today. And let's get the old brush shook out here. There we go. Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head. That didn't hurt. It's not actually true. I don't go out drinking on Saturday night, so that song's not really going to be for me, but it's still a good song. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Nope, didn't have a beer for breakfast. I'm having Cafe Bustelo. But anyway, so see, the song doesn't quite fit, sorry. But let's see if we can get some. Oh, it's still pretty thick there, but it's going to work just fine. We'll get some out on the brush. And then we should try to be sure we don't bust that tube up. Now, I've had to cut the bottom off a tube and squeeze it out into a container before. I've had to do that, but that was some really old, I don't remember what that was. But usually these good quality creams, you can warm them up some if they need it. And away you go. All right, so we got our damp brush here with our cream on it. See if we can make this work. Well, we're probably going to have to add a little bit more water because, like I said, this is a thick cream. But here we go. We're getting that nice nautical scent. That's all I know. It's more of a, it's not your typical barbershop scent. It's more of a nautical sweeter. Is that the term I should use? I don't know what to compare it to, but it's a sweeter cologne scent, kind of like Wilkerson Sword, the shave stick and the little flying saucer looking thing. They have what I call more of a cologne type scent, a sweeter scent to them, and this does too. I don't know if I would compare the scents because I don't have them side by side to see. And as you can tell, sucking a little snot this morning, so my smeller isn't working exactly as good as it could. And then we could have used probably about 2/3 of the amount of cream we used. That's okay. That's never a problem. We're going to end up with a nice, cushiony. There we go. So I shaded before I went to work yesterday and didn't shave. So this is a couple of days worth of growth. I didn't show you before I started, but trust me on it. Or don't, whatever. There we go. So I've been working both sites because I'm waiting to transfer from one site to another. And they're not quite letting me go from the first site yet. And so I hadn't quite got completely moved, but I've been working my days off from one site at the other site. So excuse the lack of videos. It's been pretty hectic. I pop in over at Toast every once in a while, but poor old Toast, I think we got 3 people over there now posting. I ran everybody off by not keeping the site up as often as I should. It went down a couple of times, one time for a week, and that ran everybody off. So I understand. Anyway, we got the A2, and this is a feather blade. Now, the feather blades, I've always said, they're harsh, and they don't last as long as a, you can take a gem, and you can, what's the word? I'm lost for a word that I want. But anyway, you can configure the gem blade, take the spine off, clip it, to where to work in an auto strop just fine, and in some of them, not all of them. But these feather blades are actually made because apparently Feather in Japan actually built auto strop razors at one time. They had a license to build the auto strop razors, and so they still make blades for them. And there's other razors now that are using these blades. Now, the thing to remember is when you put one of these blades in, be sure to check it. And be sure that it centers up behind the blade stops. So it looks something like that. Now, this blade will also work in the auto strops that have the little door that folds over that has the cutouts where you have to have the cutouts in the middle. There is one exception to that. I don't remember which model number is the exception, but there is one exception that will not take the new blades. They would only take the old blades. And since you can't use a modified, that's the word I was looking for. See there? You can't use a modified gem either because they don't have the cutouts. I guess you could notch a blade somehow with a punch or whatever, but I think you would end up bending the blade and you would have burrs on it and stuff, and it wouldn't fit good in the razor. That just seems like to me that's how that would end up if you tried to do that. So anyway, there is a auto strop out there, valet auto strop rather, not just auto strop, but a valet auto strop version series that you can't use except with the vintage blades. And I've had no good luck at all that I remember on getting a vintage blade to shave. Even the ones that were the rust proof and all this stuff, they just I haven't got there from here. So anyway, so here we go with this Portugal cream that I heard was discontinued, which is the same, Valerio. And I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm probably missing at least one letter. So I always say, in any of the feather blades, I think are over sharp, and I think they're harsh on the first shades. And of course, your technique will take a lot of that out, but still, I think it's a lot more comfortable shave a lot of times to use a modified gem, and it's not hard to do. I've got some videos where I do it than it is to use one of these. Now, this is really neat because it is of the style of the genuine blade. So loading it and everything makes you feel nostalgic. And, you know, they did make these blades for those razors. Japan apparently had a license to make these razors at one time. I don't know the whole story there. I've never taken time to learn it. Anybody that knows this story would like to share it with the rest of the class, feel free. That's what the comment section is for. It's to share information, right? That's what it's for. Look at that, did him long strokes just for those folks that like him long ones. All right.
trim up around the old goatee a little bit. There is absolutely no doubt that
an auto strop shave is top notch. It really is. There's nothing in the world wrong with an auto strop shave. Even if you have to modify the blade, trust me, it's worth it. It can be done safely. Hold that thought. It can be done safely where you're not cutting fingers off. Doesn't take long to do to modify a gem blade. All it takes is a pair of I use needle nose a lot of times. You can use a set of side cutters, but whatever you want to use, it is not complicated. Even for an old guy like me, it is not complicated to use. What I have found, especially if you use the feather blade, is you have to be careful with your pressure, or you're going to give yourself some irritation, some razor burn. There's a lot of blade feel usually, I think, and if you're not really careful, that doesn't mean it's a monster razor. And to me, it's not even like the it's not even like a micromatic where you have to pay all that attention to it or it's going to bite you. It's nothing like that. It's just if you don't pay enough attention when you get finished and get your aftershave on, you're going to feel a little extra burn. And I don't mean that worthless jerk Sanders. I don't feel the burn with Sanders, sorry. I've got a nephew that I know does or did, but I don't buy his brand, sorry. But anyway, you can still end up with some pretty good razor burn if you're not careful about your pressure with an auto strop or a valet auto strop. Alrighty. But if you haven't ever used one, they're not usually that expensive to pick up. And the actual feather blades are a little more expensive than regular blades. And a lot of people don't think it's worth it because of that. Personally, don't let that deter you from getting one to have and use every once in a while. Like I said, you can, if you get one of the ones that you slide the blade in, do your research, find out which models that is. There's some information on that over at Toast. That's toast3.com, T-O-S-T, the number 3.com. Look around, there'll be some information there on which ones does what. If nothing else, you can go back over to the original Safety 2, which is over on Probo still as an archive. And there's links at Toast 3 to get back over to the original boards or the original Safety, which is the original site that Dave started and then I took over. Anyway you go though, there's a lot of information on these things because they're really, really fun. And you can get over on one of those sites and find out which models take which blades, and then you can go pick you one up. And like I said, generally they are not very expensive. And they're in good shape. They're built like tanks, and they're really neat because they got that whole steampunk look with all the gears and everything from where you would actually use this. You know, the strop would go in, and they were called auto strop because you put a leather strop through it and you go backwards and forwards, and the head slits there and flip-flops backwards and forwards so you can strop the blade. Now, stropping modern blades I have found does no good at all, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. Stropping vintage, I hear people say, oh, I can use a vintage blade. I go and I strop it 10 cotillion times and it comes back and it's great, and it's like, I don't think so. Stropping does not sharpen a blade. But anyway, you know, maybe it removes some of the rust off and it makes it better than it was, because even blades that you know, don't look like they have rust, a lot of them have what people are calling micro rust down along the blade edge, and it deteriorates the blade. But I just never have found a vintage blade that did any good. Feather also makes a carbon steel blade, and it's not good as a shaving blade. Again, you can't even strop them and make them work. I never could. And there's always that one person, oh yeah, that's the best thing in the world. I go and strop it and feel just like using this and just like using that. And okay. You say so. Me and most people I know couldn't get it to work, so you're doing something I can't do. And that happens. I'm not saying it can't be done. Just because I don't do it and I don't think it works good and I don't like it, don't always mean it can't be done. Usually it does, but not always. So anyway, so let me just add one little traffic thing in here before we get done. When a traffic light turns green, that is the only shade of green you're going to get. If you continue to sit there, it is not going to be a different color green to suit your moods. So when it turns green, you may proceed after making sure that nut brain's not. There's always that last one when the light turns red that runs the light. Every light. If it's any kind of busy, there's always that last one. And I'm keeping my speed up. I ain't slamming on my brakes, and I'm going on through. So you got to watch out for that last one. But when the light turns green, that's all you get. You're not getting another shade of green. I just wanted to share that with everybody because apparently there's some people. That's been my recent experiences. There's a lot of people that seem to be looking for another shade of green before they go. Maybe the real reason is that they got their head down on their phone, and maybe that's the real reason. Could be. But anyway, there you go. That's just a little thing from traffic. And remember, it's important to remember we check IDs, not IQs. All right. Well, I got to go and start working on getting a shower and finishing cleaning up so I can go to work and do that thing that I do. Alarm clock went off and I did not want to get up. I did not want to go. But anyway, you got to. I actually got some pretty good sleep last night finally. I don't sleep good at night still. I prefer working nights, being up nights, but it's not working out for me right now. And but I just don't sleep real good at night. So by the time I get home in the evenings, I'm wore down a little bit. But anyway, that's just how it goes. Look, y'all have a great day. Hope things are going good where you are. Like I said, things are great around here. Anytime LSU beats Alabama, if you don't know about that rivalry, I'm not going to explain it because I'm not a real big college football guy. But it goes so far to say as the coaches at Alabama used to coach at LSU, is my understanding. So it's a huge rivalry. And a lot of times LSU gets handed its head at the end of the game. But they won it in overtime by 1 point. Last night is my understanding from reading the news this morning. A lot of times, first thing I do, I wake up is check my news. Get my news fixed. I read Fox News a lot. I read local news, and then I balance everything with BBC News. And something I think is important to remember, if you're only reading your news from one source, that's probably not good because every news source is biased in some way. Fox happens to be biased the way I am, so I'm good with that. But I balance that with BBC. I think that's a smart move, and maybe you can add that into your deal if you're checking news online. Check out BBC News. It's great. It's well balanced, good reporting, I think, and some interesting stories here, there, and yonder. All right, well, there you go. Y'all have a great day. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, happy shaves to you. And if you have some of the Portuguese creams, let me know if you like them as much as I do. And because they're great. All right. Have a great day. Happy shaves to you.